Imagine a world without strong tools. How did humans transform brittle rock into unbreakable metal, mastering fire and earth to forge civilization? Brittle edges fail in a heartbeat. One wrong strike and your only chance splinters into mud and cold breath. The silhouettes close in, and suddenly the question isn't victory, it's whether you survive long enough to learn. The chief drags him back, eyes hard. If the village can't change its tools, it won't change its fate. Inside the forge, the master smith reads the flame like an omen, heat, air, and charcoal fighting for control. Strength isn't luck, it's a secret hidden in fire and carbon, and if this blade breaks again, the village breaks with it. This is the world they inherited. Wood, mud, and muscle, where every season tests whether a village deserves to survive. Stone and bronze bite shallow, snag roots, and fail the farmer when the soil turns hard and unforgiving. Every chip in the blade means lost time, lost grain, and another winter closer to hunger. So they search the land itself, striking bare rock, hoping the earth hides something stronger. In the stone that stains their hands red, they sense a promise, metal trapped inside rock. But promise needs fuel, and fuel means forests slowly burned into living fire. Charcoal smolders in silence, turning wood into the only heat hot enough to change stone. While tools fail in the fields, shields must be patched because danger never waits. At night, the forest breathes back, animals, enemies, and cold pressing against weak walls.
Now we must act.
Around the fire, the chief faces a choice that could save the village or destroy it. Stone and bronze cannot keep up, he says. Only a new material can change the rules. The master smith knows the truth. Iron is everywhere, but it refuses to come easily. Iron is not born strong. It must be beaten, purified, and controlled by fire. The apprentice feels the weight of that knowledge with every step he takes. For the farmer, this gamble means either deeper furrows or empty fields. Raw ore piles beside the forge, useless now, heavy with future risk. This red dust is not iron yet, just potential, waiting for heat and breath. The land itself reminds them why failure isn't an option. The chief points to the hills and makes his command clear. The master smith accepts it, knowing fire will test them all. For the apprentice, this is the first step into danger and knowledge. Rain hisses on flame, a warning that fire obeys no one. Still, the decision hardens. There is no turning back now. "Bring me the stone that bleeds red," the chief declares, and the village commits to iron. They rush the furnace, but fire has no patience. Build too fast, and it punishes every mistake. Too much air, not enough control, and the flame turns violent instead of obedient. Cracks spread through clay walls, glowing like warnings written in heat. Then it happens. The furnace gives way, spilling fuel, flame, and weeks of effort into the dirt. Smoke chokes the forge, and the fire that promised strength now threatens only loss. What comes out isn't metal, but blackened waste, stone melted wrong, robbed of purpose. Myth says iron is born strong. The truth is this: without control, you only make slag. Worse news follows. Charcoal is gone, burned too soon, drowned by rain. Without fuel, even the hottest dream collapses into cold ash. Failure spreads beyond the forge. At the quarry, death comes within arm's reach. The miner survives, shaken, reminded how thin the line is between progress and disaster. The chief counts the cost: wasted fuel, broken walls, and a village one step closer to hunger. For the master smith, doubt settles heavier than smoke. The embers fade as if the fire itself is ready to give up. The apprentice wonders if this knowledge is worth the risk it demands. Then something stops the master smith cold. Buried in ash, a heavier piece hides, different from the rest. It doesn't shatter or ring like glass, it answers with a dull, living weight. In the wreckage, he realizes the truth. The fire failed, but it almost listened. They follow the red scars in stone, trusting the land to reveal something stronger than bone or bronze. Every strike frees weight from the earth, each broken chunk carried with effort and hope. The ore stains their hands, heavy and dull, promising strength locked inside rock. This burden must be carried before it can ever be shaped. Even walking downhill, the stone reminds them nothing about iron comes easy. Fuel matters as much as ore. Wood stacked wrong will ruin everything. Buried and sealed, the fire is forced to breathe slowly, not rage. Thin smoke is the signal. The burn is alive but under control. Too much air and the fuel dies. Too little and it never forms. Back at the forge, clay and straw become walls strong enough to hold violence. Every crack is sealed by hand because failure always starts small. The master smith listens to the furnace before trusting it. Charcoal feeds the fire, and the fire begins to answer. Steady breath through the bellows pushes the heat higher, not faster. The color tells him everything. When the fire turns white-hot, stone begins to surrender. Ore meets flame and sparks explode as earth is forced to change. The poison flows out first, black and glowing, slag escaping the iron. Clear the channel or the metal dies trapped inside waste. The apprentice learns the hardest rule: never stop breathing life into the fire. Smoke blinds them, hides mistakes, and dares them to lose control again. A signal, a pause, and the fire steadies, balanced on the edge. Hours vanish as they feed flame, air, and patience into the furnace. At last, the wall breaks, and the furnace gives up its secret. Inside clings a dark heart, iron still tangled with slag. It resists, heavy and alive, refusing to be taken easily. When it falls free, the ground itself seems to breathe with it. This is not yet a blade, just iron and impurity bound together. Slag bleeds away, the first step towards something usable. The sound tells the truth, dull, solid, not glass. They share a look. This time it worked. The bloom weighs more than stone, heavier with possibility. Embers drift like sparks from a newborn heart. The master smith knows what comes next. Iron must be beaten into truth. The hammer falls, and the real work finally begins. The bloom is still raw, too soft, too dirty, but now it can finally be forced to change. Every hammer strike drives weakness out, sparks marking each violent lesson. The slag is beaten out like poison, squeezed from the metal under force. The iron is folded back on itself, not for beauty, but survival. Again and again the hammer falls, turning chaos into shape. Heat rules everything here. Lose it and the iron dies. Slowly, the metal stretches into the promise of a blade. Timing matters. Hesitate for a breath and the moment is gone. Color becomes the clock. Red too dull or too bright means disaster. The blade returns to fire because strength is built in cycles. As it glows deep red, the iron is ready for its hardest test. Before risking the blade, they test the truth in simple bars. One snaps, hard, brittle, and useless when it matters most. The other bends and survives, proving hard is not the same as strong. The mastersmith chooses the risk that cannot be undone. With no hesitation, he carries the glowing blade toward cold water. The quench explodes in steam, locking hardness into the metal. The river hisses, and everyone waits to see if the blade lives. Hardness comes with a price, and the mastersmith searches for it. A crack, small but deadly, creeps along the edge. Quenching alone makes iron hard, not safe. So he tempers it gently, feeding toughness back into the blade. This balance between fire and restraint is the real secret. Now comes the question every smith fears to ask. The blade bends, returns, and survives. Hard enough to cut, tough enough to live. Tempering doesn't harden the blade, it gives toughness back, teaching iron how to survive stress without snapping. The color fades, and with it the danger of brittle failure hiding beneath strength. Here, balance matters more than force, more than speed. When the blade leaves the forge, power leaves with it. Iron cuts deeper, breaking roots that once stopped entire seasons of work. Myth says iron is for war, but the first revolution happens in the soil. Each clean furrow means more land, more food, and fewer hungry nights. Harvests grow heavier, faster, feeding more mouths than before. With surplus comes protection, and iron finds its way into weapons. The spear bites deeper than wood ever could. In that moment, the warrior understands the advantage he now carries. Iron waits quietly, promising violence if called upon. The chief sees it clearly. Fields, tools, and fighters now move together. Control isn't claimed in battle alone, it's built plank by plank. But every gain has a cost, paid in trees and labor. Iron sharpens training into dominance, and dominance invites conflict. Farmer and warrior depend on the same metal to survive. If we control iron, the chief whispers, we control tomorrow. This is how tools become empires, one clean cut at a time. Iron demands fuel, and fuel demands trees. Each blade carries the forest's shadow with it. Charcoal keeps the fire alive, but it thins the land that feeds them. Where iron appears, others soon follow, drawn by its value. Ore is no longer stone, it must be guarded like grain or blood. Fields need hands, but iron pulls people away from the soil. The chief chooses growth even as balance begins to slip. The forge cannot sleep, and neither can the one who feeds it. At night, the fire burns like a signal no one can ignore. Predators, human and otherwise, circle the light. Iron saved them, but it also marks them. And now the question hangs heavy. Will iron build their future or break it? At dawn, the blade changes hands, no longer an experiment, but a promise. The warrior tests it once, then risks the bend that decides everything. It returns true, carrying both hardness and mercy. Iron opens land once thought impossible to claim. From stronger walls to fuller stores, the village is no longer the same. But the forest stands farther away, watching the cost of progress. From bloom to blade, the secret was never metal, it was mastery of heat, air, carbon, and patience. The same rhythm will be repeated again and again. That logic still lives in every steel edge today. When the fire fades, only its echo remains. If one night at the forge could decide your future, what would you make? Tell us and follow Strange Earth Diaries.